For the sake of love. In the heart of a small, picturesque village nestled in the mountains, there lived a young man named Daniel. He was a city boy, born and raised in the hustle and bustle of downtown, but he had always been drawn to the tranquility and beauty of the countryside. One summer, while on a hiking trip in the mountains, Daniel stumbled upon the village. He was immediately enchanted by the quaint houses, the colorful gardens, and the smiling faces of the locals. But there was one face that stood out above all the others, that of a beautiful young girl named Maria. Maria was unlike anyone Daniel had ever met. She had an ethereal quality about her, a grace and poise that seemed almost otherworldly. Her dark hair cascaded down her back in loose waves, and her eyes were a deep, mysterious brown that seemed to hold 1,000 secrets. From the moment he saw her, Daniel was smitten. He began spending his days wandering the village, seeking out every opportunity to catch a glimpse of Maria. He would linger by her house, watching her tend to the garden or chat with her neighbors. And every time she looked his way, his heart would skip a beat. But as much as he longed to speak to her, Daniel was hesitant. He knew that the villagers were a close-knit community, and he didn't want to overstep his bounds. So he contented himself with admiring Maria from afar, hoping that someday he would find the courage to approach her. Weeks turned into months, and Daniel's love for Maria only grew stronger. He dreamed of her at night and daydreamed about her during the day. He longed to hold her hand, to hear her voice, to feel the warmth of her smile. One day, Daniel finally mustered up the courage to speak to Maria. He waited until she was alone, then approached her with a shy smile. "Hello," he said. "I'm Daniel. I've been living in the village for a while now, and I just wanted to say, hello." To his surprise, Maria's face lit up in a warm smile. "Hello, Daniel," she replied. "I've seen you around. It's nice to finally meet you." From that moment on, Daniel and Maria were inseparable. They spent every moment they could together, exploring the village and the surrounding countryside. Daniel was enchanted by Maria's gentle spirit, her love of nature, and her quiet strength. But as much as he loved her, there was always a sense of mystery surrounding Maria. She would disappear for hours at a time, and when she returned, she would be quiet and withdrawn. Daniel didn't understand it, but he didn't question it either. He was simply grateful for every moment he spent with her. As the summer drew to a close, Daniel began to realize just how deeply he had fallen in love with Maria. He knew that he couldn't bear to be without her, and he vowed to stay in the village as long as it took to win her heart. But then, one night, everything changed. Daniel was walking Maria home from a late-night picnic in the mountains when they heard a noise in the woods. Maria tensed up, her eyes darting back and forth as if searching for something. "What is it?" Daniel asked, his heart racing. But before Maria could answer, there was a sudden burst of movement from the trees. A dark figure lunged at them, its eyes gleaming with malice. Daniel didn't have time to react. He pushed Maria out of the way, but he was too slow. The figure grabbed him by the throat, squeezing the air out of his lungs. As Daniel struggled to breathe, he caught a glimpse of the figure's fierce, twisted face. It was someone he had never seen before, someone who was clearly not from the village. He tried to fight back, but his vision was starting to fade, and he knew he was losing consciousness. Just when he thought it was over, he felt Maria's hand on his arm. He heard her voice, low and urgent, calling out for help. And then, miraculously, the figure released him and vanished into the woods. Daniel collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. Maria was beside him in an instant, her arms around him as she whispered words of comfort. It took a while for Daniel to recover from the attack. He was shaken and traumatized, and he knew that he could never feel truly safe in the village again. But through it all, Maria was there for him, nursing him back to health and offering him a shoulder to lean on. As the weeks passed, Daniel began to notice that something had changed in Maria. She was no longer the quiet, withdrawn girl he had first met. Instead, she was filled with a fierce determination and a sense of purpose that he had never seen before.